I'm at Smart Speak Toastmasters Club. Yes, I'm just listening to him. I'm listening to hear about insights on the later road.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for joining us. Judith, anyone else?
Hello.
Hi.
Charity Mukunya, I'm in Smart Speak Toastmasters.
Awesome. Thanks so much for joining us. Hello,
DTM Robert.
Hello.
My name is Duncan Denyeko. I'm from Magnetic Toastmasters Club. It's a pleasure to join you guys. I took the chance to introduce myself now because I'm not sure I'll be able to talk later in the meeting. Let me say my hellos.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for making the time. Okay. Right.
Hi.
Hello.
Tracy from Summer Toastmasters. I'm excited to be here.
Welcome, Tracy, and thanks so much for making the time. I think the other people in the meeting are Jen Garuya and also Winnie Mbithe. You are most welcome to this meeting, to this workshop on evaluations. Let me project my screen. So the way that it's going to work is, first of all, we're just going to talk basically about what evaluations are all about and what makes a great evaluation. We'll watch a speech from YouTube and then go through the process of putting together an evaluation and a helpful evaluation of that speech. So that is basically what we're going to cover in the next 1 hour. And a question that comes to mind, I think even before we get started, is why do we evaluate speeches at the different clubs that we are in? Why do we evaluate speeches? What is the goal? What are we trying to achieve with the evaluation of a speech? Anyone would like to take a chance on that? Why do we evaluate speeches?
May I attempt?
Yes, Fatma?
I believe we evaluate so that we can improve.
Right.
The speaker, and also provide observation on our end.
Right.
That way we are able to help each other in terms of developing our competences in communication and public speaking.
Absolutely, Fatma. Help the speaker improve and also help the rest of us who are in the meeting. Is there any other thought on why we have evaluations in our clubs? Why is it important to if you are to grow as a public speaker, why is it so important for you to get evaluated?
May I try?
Yes, please.
I believe is to give feedback to the speaker on how they did.
Right.
As one of the pillars of Toastmasters is to help the speaker improve on their path.
Right. To give feedback on how the speaker did, and so that they can use that feedback when they are preparing in future. Any other thoughts before we move on? Why do we evaluate speeches? Like we have the members of this audience have stated, the reason that we evaluate speakers is to give them feedback, to help them improve. And this is based on how we communicate with each other. You have a message, you encode it in terms of the words that you're going to use, in terms of your body language, and then pass on that message to a group of people. The challenge is that that group of people needs to decode that message that you have given them for them to understand it. And sometimes, not all the times, the message that you send out is not always the one that they end up receiving. The kind of impression that you would like the members of the audience to have is not always the one that they end up having, because of that process of you encoding the message, them decoding it, and understanding it. So, for example, you would like to inspire or persuade your audience to think in a particular way, and you go through the process of crafting your message in using certain words, delivering it in a particular manner, and passing on that message through a speech to the members of the audience. And when they receive it on their end, they need to decode the message that you sent, and it might not be as persuasive as you had intended it to be. And so for you to get better at that skill of persuading the members of the audience, you need to get feedback from the people who listen to you. You need them to give you their reactions to your message, the reactions to the way that you structured your message, their reactions to your body language, and tell you whether your speech or your message was as persuasive as you intended it to be. And so the reason we evaluate each other is because we need communication involves at least two people, and we need someone else to tell us whether the strategies that we use to communicate our message are as effective as we would like them to be. And so an evaluation is simply an honest reaction in a constructive manner to a person's speaking or leadership effort. Someone put some effort in their speech, and you as an evaluator, you are giving them an honest reaction to the message that they passed on to you. And so your evaluation would include the effect that their speech had on you, their tactics had on you, what they did well in trying to achieve the purpose that they had, the areas where they could improve, and then specific recommendations for them to improve. Specific areas for them that they can use to improve. And so what are the qualities of a great evaluation? First, a great evaluation. First of all, the evaluation needs to have context. That is the basis of what, for you to be effective at helping someone else improve in their public speaking. And what do I mean by context? It needs to be built upon the project that they are on. It needs to be built on what they are trying to achieve and how far along they are on their journey in public speaking. The better you understand the objectives and the purpose that the speaker has, the better you understand the point in their public speaking that they are in, the better you are going to be at giving them feedback. The other thing that you need to think about when giving feedback is that it needs to be specific as possible. The more specific your feedback is, the more helpful it is going to be. Don't just say your body movement seemed a bit purposeless. Give specific instances where you observed that sense, you got that sense that their stage movement did not have purpose. The next thing that your feedback needs to be, for it to be helpful, it needs to be actionable. They need to be able to listen to you and act on that feedback. If it is something that they do not have control over, for example, sometimes changing a person's accent is something that takes, it might need a voice coach or a speech coach or something like that. So giving them feedback on that in a particular speech might not be as helpful to them because they cannot act on it for their next speech. And so you identify areas where you believe the speaker can make changes in their next speech. And finally, a great evaluation, a helpful evaluation needs to be balanced. There needs to be a balance between the amount of criticism and how friendly it is. And maybe we can pause there and ask, what is wrong with a harsh evaluation? In a club, what is wrong with giving a harsh evaluation? Anyone?
Yeah, this is Judith.
Yes.
Yes, I think one reason you don't give a harsh evaluation is because it's about, the club is supposed to be a safe space.
Right.
Yeah. So they should feel free to make the mistake.
Hello, DTM.
Yes.
Hello.
Thank you, Judith. The club needs to be a safe place. Muhoro Masharia, then we'll hear from Isaac.
Good evening, everyone. Which is also very closely tied to what the former speaker has said. Most of the speakers use the evaluations to account for their progress. So sometimes when you, as a speaker, you think you're on an upward trajectory,
right?
One evaluation that has been done harshly might make you feel like you're not progressing.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. It might make you feel like you're not progressing, and it might discourage you on your journey. Isaac?
Aside from that, it may. Thank you, DTM. Aside from that, it may also, I would say, kind of destroy your confidence.
Right. I think I'm not getting you clearly, Isaac.
The little confidence may not. Am I clear now?
Yes.
Okay. As I was saying, what is wrong with the harsh evaluation is the fact that it may destroy, it may really demoralize a speaker. He or she may feel less confident after that. At times, he or she may decide never to attend a Toastmasters meeting. So remember, as an evaluator, you're not only encouraging somebody, you're also lifting them up. So a harsh evaluation will really demoralize them and they may not feel as appreciated. Back to you, TM.
Right. Thank you. Absolutely. A harsh evaluation might demoralize them because the objective for you as an evaluator is for them to implement the feedback that you had given them. As we said, what we're trying to do is help someone grow as a public speaker. And if the result of your evaluation is them not being willing or able to continue with the journey, then we haven't achieved our purpose as an organization. On the other hand, on the flip side, what is wrong with an overly kind evaluation? An evaluation that is too kind. Is there anything wrong even with that? Anyone willing to attempt? Yes, Fatma?
I feel when the evaluation is overly kind, at times it seems like it is not real and you don't have the opportunity to grow.
Right.
So it feels like it is plastered.
Right.
Therefore, it may not really help the person who's speaking.
Right. It doesn't feel honest. Yeah, Brenda.
Okay, you've told us an evaluation needs to be balanced. So when it is too kind, it tends to lean on one side and may not be helpful, as Fatma said, to the speaker.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. When it is too kind, it ends up not being helpful. It doesn't help them develop the skills that have brought them to Toastmasters. And it might lead the speaker to become frustrated. They might feel like, yeah, this program does not work because I'm not growing as a speaker. And I think on this other side, this side of kindness is where members of Toastmasters who have been here for quite a while might find themselves. Specifically in terms, have you ever had where an accomplished speaker has spoken and then the evaluator is like, yeah, I couldn't see any areas of improvement. And I think that would be very frustrating for me because I know I still have a lot of things that I need to work on as a public speaker. And so telling someone that I did not see any area of improvement, as time goes by, it becomes quite frustrating to them because they do not feel like they are experiencing the type of growth. And so you need to find that balance where you're not overly harsh, but at the same time, you're not overly kind to them. You give them honest areas of improvement. And by thinking about the context of the evaluation, being specific, looking for actionable areas, you'll find that you can manage to give a balanced evaluation. And so let us go to how you go about getting the context for the evaluation and finding ways that you can give a specific evaluation. And the way that you do this is through preparation. The person who's delivering that speech has spent hours practicing. And so you as an evaluator need to put a bit of time, about 15 minutes before the speech, 15 minutes of preparation for you to be helpful to them. I remember when I was when I delivered my the first icebreaker, it took me weeks to prepare for that speech. And even leading up to delivering that speech, I had to practice for hours and hours just to deliver a terrible, an awful speech. And so as an evaluator, it behooves you to spend that 15 minutes in respect to the amount of time that the speakers in your club have spent. And so what do you do what do you do in that 15 minutes? First of all, you go through the project and evaluation guide. By going through the project where you read about the description of the project, what are the competencies the project is trying to develop, you might find specific things to look out in your speech. Let me use the example of the icebreaker. In addition to the member introducing themselves to the club, what they're learning is how to structure a speech, and they're also learning strategies for practicing and presenting a speech. And so as an evaluator, if you just take that that this is a speech about someone introducing themselves, you wouldn't be able to catch these other things that might be very helpful to the speaker. And so your evaluation wouldn't be as complete as someone who has gone through that project material. In addition to that, you need to speak to the person who's going to be delivering that speech. You need to know their general goals. What are they trying to achieve in Toastmasters? What are the specific areas that they would like you to look out and help them and give them feedback? And what kind of feedback have they received previously? By taking the time to discuss all of this, you find that you are going to find really specific areas and really helpful areas to that person to look out for when they are speaking in front of the audience. Without doing this preparatory work, you'll find that your evaluation, you're mostly going to be looking for small inadequacies that you keep hearing in a typical Toastmasters meeting being repeated over and over for each meeting. So they sound quite generic and they do not sound like they are quite specific to that speech and to that speaker. So taking time to prepare before delivering your evaluation can go a long way towards you giving a better presentation to that speaker. This evening, we're going to listen to a speech. It is a speech from a different district that was presented for the international speech contest in that district. And even though it didn't come from a specific project, I thought that the Connecting with Your Audience project would be an appropriate project for us to use to evaluate that speech. And so based on this description that I am projecting, what specific things might you as an evaluator look out for? Okay? Based on the description that I have put up on the screen, I'll give you about a minute or so to read through it. What are specific things that you as an evaluator would look out for in this speech? If there's something that comes to your mind immediately, please just unmute yourself and let us know. Yes, Fatma?
I see that the first thing I would look out for is familiarity of the topic.
Right.
Since the overview says the topic is unfamiliar to the majority of your audience.
Mm-hmm.
I would look out for a topic that would be out of the norm.
Right. Absolutely. You look at what kind of topic did the speaker use, and was it appropriate for this particular project that they are delivering on? Any other thing that you might look out for? Yeah.
Also, yes, I think also the conversation, the speech starter, or how you start your speech at the beginning so that you capture the attention of the audience is important.
Right. Maybe going a bit further, how is that related to this project so that it is absolutely clear?
The aim or the purpose of the project is to connect with your audience.
Right.
And you're supposed to tailor your message and present it successfully. So if you don't connect with them at the beginning, then you lose them throughout.
Absolutely. You need to capture their attention at the beginning of the speech. Any other thoughts? Any other thing that you might look out for?
Let me give it a try.
Yes.
Because they're supposed to connect with the audience, then I would be looking out to whether the audience got disengaged at some point or he caught our attention throughout the session.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. Especially, I think, especially if it is in a physical meeting, you would look out on whether the speaker is watching the reaction of the audience and to target the people who seem to be disengaged. You also see from DTM Janie Muller in the in the chat, she will watch out for if the speaker is speaking in their own club or a different club. That will affect the kind of speech that they would be delivering, and whether that person is adjusting their speech. Maybe maybe someone could tell us, or Jane, you could tell us, how would you be able to notice whether someone is adjusting their speech to different personalities?
Yeah, DTM Robert, I want to say that maybe how I would speak to somebody who is interrupting rudely,
Right.
and how I would respond to somebody who is interrupting, but they are being a little bit kind, and their point is genuine. I think I would have to adjust also my tone and how I, how I respond to them.
Yeah.
So I would look out for that for the person whose speech I am evaluating.
Right. Absolutely. For example, if they have a question that is engaging the audience, depending on the person that they are targeting, the tone that they use, and probably the words that they use will tell you whether this person is adjusting their speech or not. Muhoro, you had your hand up.
Are you able to hear me? Sorry, I was on mute. Just to answer on the question that you had asked on what to look out, I would look out on audience interaction. If the speaker involved the audience through questions or any other interactive elements during his speech.
Right. Absolutely. If you're trying to fit your speech to different types of audiences, you will have ways built in to your delivery that would try and elicit different types of, try to identify different types of audience members and modify your message to them. Definitely, in addition to this, something else that you might look out for is that even if they're delivering the speech at their club, it will be a topic that is different from, would be unfamiliar to the members of the audience. You would try and see if they had put in effort to either communicate to the different types of, to the different types of members that they are in your audience, the older members, the younger members, people in different professions. Did they put in some effort to try and help them relate to that speech? Jen says she would check for eye contact, whether the person was connecting with the members of the audience and whether they are able to pick up in case of interruptions, so that the speech is not so internalized that it is just being being delivered in a robotic way, but it is actually a natural presentation. So based on the amount of thinking and amount of analysis that you put into the preparation portion of your evaluation, you find that there is a lot that you are able to look out for that is going to make your evaluation sound rich and is going to make your evaluation helpful to the person that you are evaluating. And so what you're trying to do is to as you're listening to them speak, you are looking out for the weaknesses and strengths based on those things that you had purposed to look out for in their speech. And so that it brings us to watching the speech for this evening. And as I said, it is an international speech delivered at a district conference in a different district. We're just going to play through it, and then we're going to go through the process of asking several questions about the content, the delivery approach that the person used, and their language. And in the process of doing that, we'll be trying to identify the strengths and weaknesses that this speaker has. And as we are evaluating them, we have the objectives of the speech that we have just talked about at the back of our mind. The objective is for this person to connect with their audience. And so without further ado, let me play it. I need to stop my presentation. Share with sound. There we go.
Patrick Astrid.
It was over 9 centuries ago that a priest walked across a muddy construction site in a place that would someday be a suburb of Paris. And as he walked, he came across 3 stonemasons hard at work. And he asked the first stonemason, "What are you doing, my son?" And the mason said, "I'm cutting stone, father. Cutting stone. I'm cutting stone." And he walked a little further, he came across a second stonemason. And he asked him, "What are you doing, my son?" And the second stonemason said, "I'm cutting stone, father. I'm cutting stone. Cutting stone." And he came across a third stonemason. Now this one was working hardest of all. His body was covered with sweat and dust as he worked. And the priest asked him, "What are you doing, my son?" And he put his tools down and he stood. And a light came into his eyes, a light that was both fierce and electric. And he said, "I am building a cathedral." Building a cathedral. Isn't that what we should be doing with our lives? Building a cathedral? But sometimes, we're just cutting stone. Stuff gets in the way. We lose track of where we're going. We sometimes forget where we've been, and we're cutting stone when we should be building that cathedral. So what I'd like to share with you tonight is 3 concepts. 3 concepts that if you take them, they will help you build the cathedral of your life. And the first concept is perception is reality. Perception is reality. What you believe, what you perceive will become a reality. And it kind of ties in nice with the motto of this conference, doesn't it? So let me just add that to it. Perceive it, believe it, achieve it. So it's your perception that becomes reality. Perception is reality. The second concept is to take responsibility. How often do we hear things like, "Oh, it's not my job. It's not my job. It's not my fault. I'm not responsible for this." And I say to you, take responsibility for everything, because once you let go of responsibility, then you abdicate your power to make positive change. So grasp the responsibility, embrace it. Take responsibility, which is nothing more than responding with ability. Now, the third concept, I was thinking about that on the way here this morning. It's just so important. And I learned about this concept. It really came to focus for me a few years back when I gave a speech to an organization called the South Hall Business Council, which had all the businesses on the east end of Long Island. And at that particular meeting were 5 undertakers. They represent all the funeral homes on the East End, 5 undertakers. And I found out something interesting. I heard the story about this poor guy named Joe who flew to California, had a heart attack, died there, and had to be flown back for burial to Long Island. Now, here's something. Did you know that if you have to fly a body for burial across country, you have to pay the equivalent of a first-class ticket? Now, just think about this for a minute. Just think about this now. Here's this poor dead guy. He never flew first class in his life. Never. Now he's dead. You missed the moment, Joe. Here, have some champagne. Fluff your pillow. You're in first class now. So the lesson here is be in the moment, because the moment is the only thing we ever have. Here, let's try this. Take the hand of the person next to you. Come on, hold hands. Come on, you're Toastmasters. You can do this. Yes, sir, I know that's your wife, but you can do this. I know that. It's okay. Take your hand. Hold the hand. Put your feet flat on the ground. Ground yourself so you can almost feel to the center of the earth. And just feel it. Just feel the river of time. Feel it passing by. Feel the moment. Now, we're going to have other meetings. We'll see each other again, I'm sure. But this particular moment, this little spot in time and space, is never coming back, because that river only flows one way. Okay, you can let go now. Sir, you can let go now. It's So let's take these three concepts. If you take these three concepts, if you grasp them, if you make them yours, I promise you, I guarantee you that you will build not a life, but a cathedral. Okay. So take those three things. Perception is reality. Put the right perceptions in your mind. Take responsibility for everything around you. You can make it better. I know you can. I know you can. And be in the moment. Right there, grounded. Be in the moment and build that cathedral. Yeah.
Excellent. Yeah, so for after that opportunity to watch that speech, we could start going through certain questions that we could ask ourselves about the content of the speech. And first of all, the first thing that we would ask ourselves as evaluators was the speech interesting and meaningful? Has the speaker done research and rehearsed? Was the flow logical and clear? Was the opening captivating, and did it lead into the topic? Did it flow smoothly and have an appropriate supporting material that is for the body? Was the conclusion effective? Were the transitions appropriate and helpful? Was there a clear specific purpose, and did the different parts of the speech build up on it? Maybe I could hear us give our thoughts on what we thought about the different aspects of that speech. Any strengths or weaknesses that we identified when it comes to the content of the speaker's speech? Anybody who has any thoughts?
TM Robert.
Let's start with Isaac first.
Okay.
And Brenda.
Thank you, DTM Robert. If I can try, one of the things that I felt this speaker is really adept in is humor.
Right.
And he really incorporated humor in his speech, and that is, I believe that is what really helped him connect with the audience, because humor really makes the audience engaged in your speech. So I would say humor was part of his strength. He used a lot of humor. Yeah.
Yeah, humor made the speech interesting to us as members of the audience. Thank you so much for that. Brenda, any thoughts?
What I loved was that he used the Toastmasters power of three, which now transited to being the call to action.
Right, right. The body was made up of three major points, the way that he organized it. There seemed to be a logical flow of the points, right? Yes, Muhoro, then Fatma.
The speaker was able to very well use tonal variation to try and explain what the speech was about.
Tonal variation, absolutely. There was tonal variation. We're going to come to that in the delivery aspect of the evaluation, but definitely there was some aspect of it. Any other thoughts?
May I proceed?
Yes, Fatma?
I found the speech interesting in terms of the ability of the speaker to connect with the audience. When the audience was laughing, he had a smile on his face.
Right.
And then there was also the bit of connection between the first, the story when he talked about the Masons,
Right.
the third when he talked about building a cathedral, with
Right.
the end when he
Right.
was having a call to action.
Right, right, absolutely. There was, yeah, that logical tying in of the whole speech. Maybe when you focus on the transitions between, he had 3 points. Was there a smooth flow between them, or did it seem to jump from one point to the next? What were your observations about the way that he transitioned from the introduction into the points and then into the conclusion of his speech? Any thoughts on that?
Yes, DTM. I felt I felt it would have been better if he named the 3 concepts of building a cathedral first, just naming them, then breaking them down, each and every concept. I think that would have been more memorable instead of going directly to each and every concept and explaining one by one. I think it would have been easy if he did mention the 3 concepts first, just mention them, then he will go ahead and break them down each and every.
Right.
Thank you.
Absolutely. That will be an aspect of the way that the opening leads into the topic. Sometimes it is quite helpful when you give the audience a preview of what is coming in the speech. And so it helps them prepare, it helps them internalize the points better and prepares them to listen to exactly what you're going to say. Any other thoughts about the content of the speech before we move on?
On my end, I found it inspirational.
Right.
He gave us the example about masonry and also gave a very practical example of how we can be able also to utilize the same in our own life.
Right, right, right. Yeah, it actually, yeah, that's an aspect of making the speech, helping us connect, helping him connect with us, members of the audiences, using an illustration that we can relate to, and at the end, helping us relate to the subject matter of his speech. Then we can look at the different ways that aspects of his delivery. And first of all, there is the manner. Did he appear sincere and confident? How was his posture? Was he poised the way that he was standing in front of the audience? Did his gestures look natural, and did they evoke any kind of emotion? Maybe thinking about his his body language at the very beginning of the speech and the way the different types of Masons reacted to the question. Was his body movement purposeful and smooth? What about his eye contact, facial expression, and his voice? Any comments we can make on any of these?
DTM Robert, let me give it a try, please.
Yes.
I love that he had different characters in his speech, and as he was delivering a message from one character, he transited from one point to another. So he changed from this position to the other.
Right, right. The way that he moved on stage demonstrated purpose, because he was trying to say something with each of those movements. Any other?
he was also very confident
Right.
and well poised,
Right.
and also use of the stage, was moving from one corner to the rest. Then as he's also talking to the members, there was a time he also went down so that he can more or less be on the same eye level with them and connect with them.
Right, right. Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, his eye contact, his facial expression, his body, the way that he positioned his body showed that he was coming close to the members of the audience. Then we can think about the language that he used. Were his words simple, easy to understand? Did he have vivid descriptions? Did he use any rhetorical devices, jargons, or unnecessary words? Did he use proper grammar and pronunciations? Was there anything about his language that we were able to pick up on?
On my end, from a language, he was very descriptive.
Right.
Initially, when talking about the Masons, when he was trying to also relate that example that he had given us in terms of how we are relating us to that life. So it was simple,
Right.
it was short, it was very clear.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. His descriptions were simple and quite clear because I could clear even though his manner of speaking is not what I would be used to listening to day by day. I could follow his words because of the choices. I could follow his speech because of the choices of words and the way that he described the different things that he described in his speech, especially that aspect of a person taking a first a business class flight after their passing. That was quite clear, and so that made, because of the choices of his words, it made me relate to his jokes and understand them and understand his humor quite clearly. And so after doing all of that analysis as an evaluator, what are the two things maybe that you think would help him take this speech to the next level? Are there any two things that you as an evaluator would pick up on that would turn this speech from a great speech to an amazing one? Even if it's just one thing that you will be able to pick up on. Yes, Fatma?
I felt before introducing the third point,
Mm-hmm.
a very long story
Right.
that distracted me with
Right.
the earlier 2 points.
Right.
I felt there was an opportunity to condense that so that then I'm able to follow through the
Right.
points.
Right. Absolutely. Despite how amazing the speech was, there could be areas of there are areas of improvement. And I would agree with Fatma. I felt that his points were sort of unbalanced because the first point was quite short. Then the second point was, I think, an appropriate length. And then when he got to the final point, it was quite preceded by quite a lengthy story, so that it is quite easy for a member of the audience or for myself to get lost on, are you still on the third point or have you moved on to another point? And so finding ways to balance the supporting material of the different points might help his speech become more impactful and easier for me as a member of the audience to follow. Is there any other thought?
Maybe just to add on what you've just said, in terms of his organization structure, I did feel like the end of it, the speech was a bit too short. And also the way he finished seemed a bit rushed. So I would have loved to see a balanced opening, body, and a conclusion that does not feel rushed while still engaging members and giving them a call to action. That is what I think.
Right. Absolutely. So, like we said at the beginning of this evening, is that what we're trying to do is give the person an honest reaction to his speech, because in terms of the reactions that we've had, is that we thought that his speech was funny. We thought that he was well prepared, that he was confident while he was on stage, that he had practiced and rehearsed his speech. So his voice and his body movement demonstrated that he was able to use his body and his words and his body in a way that engaged us as members of the audience, that he had clearly picked out his words and the phrases that he would use, so that it was easy for us to follow. However, we also felt like we have just outlined that it would have been helpful if for us, it would have been even more helpful for us if he had balanced his speech, if the transitions were a bit clearer between the points. And so that is basically what you do as an evaluator. By putting in the work that you put in at the very beginning, even before the person comes on stage, where you look at the project and you think through what the person will be trying to do, you will find that the way that you observe the content, the way that you observe the body, and the way that you observe the language, you have things to say that are meaningful to that person and that can help them grow and can encourage them along their path. So remember, when you're delivering your evaluation, you're speaking for yourself. That is your opinion. You're not speaking as a judge or as a lecturer. And so use I statements. This is what I saw. This is what I felt as a member of the audience. Avoid being impersonal. Don't speak in the third person as if it is someone else's reaction. I think it is easier for the speaker to receive your evaluation if you just say, I am the person who felt this. Avoid judgmental words. Don't say in Toastmasters, this is what we do, or a great speaker does this and that. Again, use phrases that are going to make it easier for the speaker to receive your evaluation. And so, again, if you say something, do not repeat it. It's going to sound like you are nagging them. Avoid words like never, always. Those are exaggerations and distract from the point that you are trying to make. And remember, at an evaluation contest, it is a speech, and absolutely you need to deliver it in a way that is structured like a speech. However, you are not the center of the attention. You're not trying to get attention on yourself, but you're putting attention on the speaker and in your efforts to help them. And so the way that you're going to present your speech, your evaluation, needs to shine a light and needs to keep the focus on the member who has just delivered their speech. And how do you know if you are successful? The speaker or leader should always walk away from the evaluation and the meeting feeling motivated and eager to begin working on his or her next project. And so if at the end of your evaluation, the person feels motivated, they want to sign up for a new speech so that they can implement the feedback that you have given them, then you have succeeded as an evaluator. It does take time for you to be able to have all these questions that we've gone through in your mind. It takes practice. And so I would encourage you to take up as many evaluation roles as possible. In addition to that, the more you speak, the better an evaluator you are going to become. And so as much as you're evaluating others, take up speaking opportunities, get evaluated, be on the receiving end, and so in that way you would know what is an effective strategy to use when you're trying to help someone else improve. And that brings us to the end of this workshop. Maybe I could hear from the members of the audience. Is there anything that you have learned this evening that you would use in your next evaluation? Anything?
Yes, DTM Karanja. Myself, I've learned that it's important to get the speech content evaluation form to understand the project, so that you prepare earlier before you listen to the speech and look out for what it is the speaker will be saying. So that's something I've never done. So I think I'll start doing that. Thank you.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, don't be exchanging the evaluation form just a few minutes, just a few, as they are being introduced, as the previous speaker is just finishing up, that is when you're getting the evaluation form. If possible, get it the day before, spend at least 15 minutes preparing, and I can assure you the kind of evaluation that you're going to deliver is going to be vastly better. Fatma?
Appreciate you, DTM. Since I have picked that anytime I'll be evaluating, I'll be looking at it in the
Right.
language, and I will stay away from things that are not actionable, because I find that at times we spend a lot of time on the little things that we may not work on. So thank you. I have picked a lot of things that I will implement.
Focusing on actionable feedback, things that can be implemented by the speaker. Mamu, you had your hand up.
Yes, I was going to say focus on the actionable. Make sure it's well balanced, not to be too critical or too friendly.
Right.
And speak to the speaker beforehand, so that you're able to not only give the obvious, observable things, but also give them more on whatever they want to work on, or something that will help them grow in the next speech.
Right. Absolutely, absolutely. Remember, the mission of a Toastmasters Club is to create a positive and supportive environment where our members can grow as public speakers. And as an evaluator, you play a great role in this, and you can contribute greatly towards the retention of members in your club and towards their development as leaders and public speakers. Brenda?
Okay, thank you, DTM Robert. That was quite helpful. For me, I'll try to give very balanced feedback, not too harsh, not too critical, avoiding impersonal statements and telling them in Toastmasters, this is what we do. Then I have a question. Can we ask a speaker to redo a speech if you feel that they did not meet the objective of the speech, or is it something that you tell them behind the scenes as you're giving them feedback on the evaluation form?
Right. Absolutely. Thank you so much for bringing up something very controversial and putting me on the spot, just as I was wrapping up a great session. Like we said at the very beginning, you are giving your reaction as a member of the audience. You're not playing the role of a judge. And if you think about the way that the evaluation is structured, you will see that it is not possible actually for you to objectively give a pass or fail decision. You can speak about how well the person was able to achieve the objectives of the speech. If the person did not achieve the objectives of the speech, absolutely be honest. Be honest in the balanced way that we talked about, where you tell them that, yeah, I felt from my own opinion that, yeah, you didn't quite meet the objectives of this speech. However, because your role as an evaluator is not to tell someone whether they have passed or failed, then I would discourage you from doing that. Give an absolutely honest and balanced evaluation that clearly helps them, that clearly demonstrates your reaction to their speech or your personal assessment on how well the strategies they used help them to achieve the objectives of the speech. But it is not your role as an evaluator to tell someone whether they have passed or not. It is just to give them areas of improvement for their next speech. So yeah, in short, if it's not your role, then yeah, you don't do it. Right? Any other question? Or do you feel satisfied, Brenda?
Absolutely.
All right, fantastic. All right, great. Thank you so much for making the time for to attend this workshop. I hope it was helpful to you. If you have my number, please send me any kind of feedback that you have on how we can make this session better in future. And yeah, I wish you all the best in your next evaluation. Have a good night.
Thank you, DTM, and have a good night.